Part 0. Context. In the country of Ukraine lies two small cities, one Chernobyl and the other Pripyat. And on the border of these cities lied a nuclear power facility, quaintly named the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Facility. And back in April 26th of 1986, the fourth reactor had a meltdown occur, which nearly contaminated the entire European water supply. It was so scary, in fact, that it was the catalyst for Italy, who was already questioning whether or not they should close their doors on their nuclear power facilities, to finally say screw it. And not only that, they quit funding their nuclear power research altogether, according to the Department of Energy. But where Italy says no, America goes, yes please. Because these colors don't run. Now, unless you fail at context clues, you should have gathered that this speech is about, well, nuclear power. And nuclear power, in America, produces 92.5% of energy by capacity. Isn't that crazy? Don't answer that. Now, by the end of this speech, you're going to walk away with the unwanted knowledge of what a nucleus is, and what it means, what is nuclear fission, who discovered it, and how exactly did they discover it, and finally, how the nuclear reactors themselves work, and how were they first made. And if you already have this information, not only am I surprised, but also, no you don't. Part 1. Nucleus? What is an atomic nucleus? Well, if you didn't pay attention in your 9th grade science class, we have a perfect little piece of mail from Oxford Languages. 9th grade physics for dummies. It says, and to quote, "The nucleus is the positively charged central core of an atom consisting of protons and neutrons and containing nearly all its mass." Scary, right? Don't answer that. Like all words, the word nucleus is derived from a root word, which is nux. What did that word mean again? Oh, thankfully enough, we have some more mail from my favorite people at Oxford Languages. Ah, yes, Latin for dummies. Let's see, what does nux mean? So the pamphlet says. Now, the word nucleus didn't actually gain scientific meaning until the mid to late 17th century, whereas beforehand it meant kernel, or the inner part of something. So if you were to call the popcorn kernel the popcorn nucleus, you would be literally correct. I hope popcorn nucleus haunts your dreams tonight. Part 3. An atom, some elements, and uranium rock. It's empty. Second, I'm sure I have something. Here, yes, more mail. I feel like Blue's Clues at this point. Okay, this one's from the US Department of Energy. Ah, yes, nuclear fission for dummies. It says, to quote, "The process of nuclear fission is an extremely dangerous process and hazardous process that goes as follows. A neutron is shot at high speeds through a uranium atom, splitting it in half, creating that power we all need to keep our phones on so you kids can scroll through brain rot TikToks. I swear, if I hear the word skibbity or riz one more time, we can have a fun conversation after this." That's actually what the pamphlet says. You want to read it? Too bad. Part 3. How did you... Now, the title of person who discovered nuclear fission is more like people who discovered nuclear fission, as it was actually discovered by 3 scientists evolving the steadily growing theory that splitting an atom in half would either create 2 of the same element, or it would create 2 entirely different elements. On December 19th of 1938, Fritz Strassmann, Lise Meitner, and Dr. Otto Hahn were researching in their lab when they discovered it. Nuclear fission. Now, initially, all they found at the time was that it just produced a lot of heat and a lot of radiation. And then, the most unexpected thing happened. Their lab exploded! Probably. No, it really didn't. But, you know what? Whatever. Now, part 5. Big Spinny. Here we are at last. How nuclear reactors actually work. But before we start that, let's play a game of Can You Keep Up? The only game show where I could care less if you actually participate. The process of nuclear fission happens within the reactor, right? And it creates mass amounts of heat that is then put near water so that it would create steam. And that steam is then sent through massive magmatic generators and fans that create power. The power we need to, well, keep our phones on. And if you didn't understand that, let me explain it in a little bit more simpler terms. When water gets hot, it makes steam. Steam go through fan. Big spinny fan go through generator. Generator create electricity. Got it? Still no? Alright. Well, I'm moving on anyways. Part 5. The Italian Nuka Mafia. Now, with an entire kids' chemistry set, a group of like-minded scientists, and the entire underneath of the Stagfield Stadiums at the University of Chicago, Enrico Fermi did it. Well, let's be serious here. What did he actually do? Well, he created the first man-made and self-sustaining nuclear fission reaction. And then, with this in hand, he went on to make the first nuclear reactor known to man, the Chicago Pile 1. Fermi actually went on to not only win a Nobel Peace Prize, but then got his own prize named after him, both of which were then proposed and given to Robert J. Oppenheimer. And if you don't know who Robert J. Oppenheimer is, he's the man who developed, or helped develop rather, the atomic bomb. And speaking of the atomic bomb, bonus section. Now, I don't have visuals for this section because this section was sort of a shoo-in, and I also didn't really have time to make visuals for it. But on the topic of the atom bomb, Enrico Fermi's help was actually enlisted to help develop the atom bomb. Enrico played a pivotal role in the Manhattan Project. Enrico, being the jokester he is, used a crumpled piece of paper to figure out what the yield of the bomb might be. Oppenheimer personally recruited Enrico for the project. Enrico single-handedly witnessed the meltdown of the Graphite-10 reactor. He put the first cell into the first nuclear power reactor. So, what am I trying to get at with all this? Enrico Fermi was the GOAT of nuclear power. Not actually, though. With all the things Enrico did, all the things he created, it was still sloppy, dangerous. Part 7. Closing statements 1. Danger. Is it real? Nuclear power, as I mentioned in the beginning, is extremely high producing in power means, but it's also extremely dangerous. Destruction and chaos have been wreaked on towns, cities, so on and so forth. For example, in 1779, the 3 Mile Island reactor had a meltdown that destroyed entire sections of the city. And in 2011, the Fukushima reactor, well, it hit the same thing. It's all dangerous. And it all will forever be dangerous. Part 8. closing statements too. How do I feel? In my humble opinion, nuclear power is the future of innovation. It is clean, reusable energy that has very little downsides. Take the game Fallout 4, for example. I know it's fantasy, but just indulge me for a second, will you? Like you have a choice. In this game, nuclear production was the main focus for the US after World War II, and they focused it down into cold fusion. Energy focused to a single point, capable of powering full cities and massive mech suits. Now, as previously mentioned, this is sci-fi and, well, fake. But I feel like if we actually put the time and effort into doing it, we could create similar things. For example, if we just focused for a minute on how to make nuclear power more safe, rather than thinking the entire time about how dangerous it actually is, we could use it more openly than we do now. And maybe we could avoid having another meltdown. Thank you and have a good night. Or don't. Honestly, I could care less.